Religion Without God by Fulton J. Sheen. Copyright 1928. Preface. Present-day religion is not in evolution, but in revolution. Evolution implies growth from a germ. Revolution, a rupture with a principle. Evolution has antecedents. Revolution knows not its parentage. When we say that there is revolution in religion, we mean not merely a break with the past, but an abandonment as well of much that is best in the culture and heritage of tradition. Until a generation ago, religion was generally understood in terms of man's attitude toward a supreme and perfect being. Today, it is understood in terms of man's friendliness to the universe, or as faith in the conservation of human values. The term God is still retained by some thinkers, but it is emptied of all content and dissolved to fit every volatile idea and fleeting fancy. God has been dethroned, the heavens emptied, and man has been exalted to his place in fulfillment of an evil prophecy that someday he would be like unto God. Problems which once centered about God now revolve about man, and those which were concerned with man are now fused with the universe. Theism is reduced to humanism and psychology to cosmology, for there is no longer a distinction made between man and matter. God is humanized, and man is naturalized. The science of physics, and not the flower in the crannied wall, has come to tell us what God and man are. No longer do men look to the past as to their golden age. No longer do they have a memory of a garden wherein man walked with God in the cool breezes of evening. The golden age is now placed in the future, but not one wherein man re-finds at the foot of a tree the gifts he once lost there, thanks to a God-man unfurled on it like a banner of salvation, but rather a future in which, due to a cosmic evolutionary urge, man not only makes but becomes God. Man in the supernatural state, it is said, needs no redeemer, as in the natural state he needs no God. As a result of this philosophy of self-sufficiency, we have the queer modern phenomenon of a religion without God and a Christianity without Christ. In these new terms, religion remains the great concern of the modern mind. Never before has an irreligious world taken so much interest in religion. It is the one subject anyone may talk about, though scientists alone may speak of science and geographers alone of geography. The press is teeming with it, and university professors are lecturing about it even when they lecture against it. But while it is true that there has never before been so much talking about religion, it is equally true that never before has there been so little walking in it. Religion today is only doctrinal, not practical, a concern of the pure, but not the practical reason. Its purpose seems to be to offer a consoling salve to erring consciences. Men first live, and a doctrine is made to fit their living. Bad thinking is flatteringly adjusted to bad living, and thus phoenix-like a religion rises out of the ashes of irreligion. Because of this new and revolutionary change in religion, the exponents of the traditional concept have lost the ear of the changing world. The terms God and religion are still used, but they mean different things. It is easier for a Frenchman to understand an Englishman than for a believer in a perfect God to understand the God of Professor Alexander, who in the strictest sense of the term is not a creator but a creature. The two schools are talking a different language and revolving about different poles of thought. The older school is proceeding from God to religion, while the new proceeds from religion to God. The task before the philosopher of religion, whose reason commits him to a belief in God, the Alpha and Omega of all things, is not to state contradictory theses which have no common denominator, nor multiple with those of his flesh and blood contemporaries. Rather, his task is to analyze the assumptions behind the modern view to determine whether or not they are justified. It is the things that are taken for granted in their position that must be challenged, for it may well be that philosophical assumptions are mere lyrical gratuities, and their philosophy but free verse poetry. It is to this labor of a calm and rational study of the assumptions behind the contemporary idea of religion that we have committed ourselves in writing this book. The method is threefold. expository, historical, and critical. First, we have aimed to give an unprejudiced outline of the modern position, both in its negative and positive aspects, refraining from all criticism. Secondly, to trace out its historical origins, not so much through persons, as Jacques Maritain has admirably done in his Les Trois Réformateurs, to which we acknowledge indebtedness, but rather through philosophical principles and their evolution. Thirdly, to analyze the assumptions underlying the contemporary philosophy of religion, and to present in a constructive way the rational ground for all religion from the natural point of view. God, in relation to the anti-intellectual tendencies of the present day, was examined in our previous work, God and Intelligence, of which this present volume is a continuation. The two are destined to be a complete philosophy of religion from both its formal and material angles. In conclusion, we wish to thank Dr. Leon Cannon-Noel of the University of Louvain and Dr. Gerald B. Phelan of the University of Toronto for their scholarly inspiration and valued assistance. Deepest thanks, too, are offered to Right Reverend Monsignor Edward A. Pace, Ph.D., and Right Reverend Monsignor James H. Ryan, Ph.D., of the Catholic University of America for their learned and characteristically kind help, and to Professor A.J. McMullen of Harvard University for reading the book in manuscript and offering many valuable suggestions to make it more readable. For the tedious task of making the index, we are grateful to our friend Reverend Henry J. Gebhard, M.A.